Hello everyone, how are you doing? Hopefully you're doing better than what it seems as though the operating system world is doing right now. It seems. Because right now California just passed a law bill, whatever it is, to mandate ID verification to install an operating system in a computer when you do it the first time, basically, or to use it, it seems. I'm not really sure yet because they just passed it, and California bills are very vague on purpose, so they can control as much wealth as possible. And two things about this: one, this is not being passed to help anybody. There's no way this is being passed to help anybody. This is not being passed for security, for helping people online. No, this is all about control. This is all about determining what you're able to use on your computer, which actually is in the bill. It tells you you have to verify your age so that you can use certain parts of your own computer, your own hardware. You need to verify your age so that they can tell you what you're allowed to use with your own items. Yes, and they're already been doing this for a while now. England and a lot of other countries are starting to do the ID verification for the internet to determine what part of the internet you can use. And here in the United States, we have a bunch of companies pushing to regulate your ability to repair your own hardware, your own car, your own appliances, and even now they want to regulate and be able to tell you what you're allowed to print on your own 3D printer. And it's getting to the point where it is ridiculous that a lot of these places are getting together to try and create a dystopian world where you are just going to listen to the government only. Like 1984 has nothing on what they're trying to do. 1984 has nothing on what they're trying to do. They're literally trying to just smash 1984 in animal form together and be like, here, this is what you need to do now. This is what you need to live as. And it's getting ridiculous. But not only is this becoming a really bad thing because they're trying to do all these overreaching things that are really all it's for is to constrain your rights as the individual and give the government more power. That's all it's doing, because there's nothing else that this is doing but that. Having your ID for verifying your age before you use a computer does not make any sense. It does not in any situation. It's not going to prevent anything. If you want to have kids be safer online, punish their parents. Get their parents to get them off the computer. Parents need to be able to control their children and what they see. Those are who should be watching the kids, not the government, not the every big brother and all this stuff. Because as we are finding out right now, all this overreaching of all this technology and all these parenting by technology is having a really bad effect, that our new generation is functionally morons. Most of them can't read. A lot of them have problems with motor skills and all this stuff because they spend so much time on the computer. It is literally moving them backwards, almost like they're de-evolving instead, which is ridiculous. And furthermore, it's good to pull back from technology, but having the government do it is not a good thing. They just want more and more control over everything. Now, the other thing about this is big tech is going to be all behind this, even though it's going to affect them in the worst way possible, because as we already saw with AI and how big tech is so for AI and so been running behind AI, and now AI seems to be backfiring on big tech because a lot of people are dropping AI and all this stuff, and now AI is just bleeding money. And then China basically just went, no, we're not dumb like you in big tech over there in California. We don't think infinitely increasing the hardware requirements for an AI model is a good idea. We're going to try and better our program and make it smaller, which they successfully just did this month, to drop down their new Quinn 3.5 model to be able to run on pretty much anything and still work. So now big tech is about to lose money because now everything's going to change. And that's the exact same thing that's going to happen with this whole ID verification thing. First of all, not every operating system will be able to initiate this. Basically, Windows and Mac are the only ones that can efficiently and actually initiate this as a policy and be able to use it on all their operating systems and all their computers. And then everything else, no, because first of all, Linux, not everyone uses the same version of Linux. There's tons of different versions of Linux, and tons of different kinds of people that use them. They're Linux for every different thing. And not only that, but then we move on to older versions of the operating system like Windows 7, which is actually used on more computers than most people think. For instance, Windows 7 is what's used on most displays. Like those displays you see in your mall, the kiosks, or at your doctor's office, or the entrance to a building that has different offices inside of it, that has that little digital billboard. Those generally run Windows 7 because it's tiny, doesn't need to be connected to the internet very often, and it pretty much doesn't have updates constantly running. It doesn't need the constant internet connection to do everything. Those run Windows 7. Even ATMs are running Windows 7 because it's more secure. And a lot of places that have things that are offline run older versions of Windows. They don't run Windows 11 because it's so bloated and glitchy and so infested with AI that most people don't run it now. So how are you going to ID verify all that stuff? And a lot of these things don't have people using them, so ID verifying them is going to bloat them up and may cause a lot of crashes and a lot of actual downtime for a lot of businesses to go and try to get their systems up to date if this becomes law nationwide. Then when we move on from older operating systems, we have Linux, which is the next major operating system. It actually runs more things than you would think. For instance, the base kernel for your Android and most phones pretty much run on Linux, and then on top of it they have the Android operating system. Most servers in the world that run the internet run on Linux, and then on top of it they have other things that Linux runs. Some cars run on Linux with other things on top of it to give your interface for your car. And the thing is, Linux is open source, which means no one really has a central kernel for Linux or a central OS for Linux that they can say we're going to have all of Linux do this. No, Linux is open source. You can just take out what you don't want, which means if you put ID verification on any version of Linux, somebody will just take it out, or they'll just switch to a different version of Linux. For instance, I use two different versions of Linux. I use Linux Mint on an actual flash drive to run all the AI things I test out. Runs directly from the flash drive. No need to install it. Then my other computer, my small computer that I use to back up all my stuff so I don't have them on Google, runs Zoran on it. Because it looks more like Windows, it has more of a nice user interface, and that's it. But two completely different versions of Linux, two completely different development teams and everything to run Linux. They're the same basic Ubuntu. They run on Ubuntu, but they're ran by different companies altogether. Which even means if Ubuntu decides to add ID verification to Ubuntu itself, the distro itself, like Zoran or Mint, could just simply take it out because Linux is open source. They have documentation for all their code, and they have very good documentation, and they have a large community of people that work on it. So Ubuntu may add it as part of their base code, and then everybody that has a distribution that runs on Ubuntu will just simply take it back out. With no effect, no reason it can't work, they'll just take it out, and then a lot of people just won't update, which is going to be what will bring the problem to big tech right now that pushes this ID verification. Is a lot of people just won't want anything new that has this ID verification on it, which means big tech is going to lose sales, and it's going to cause more people to leave operating systems like Windows. And then Mac also, people start losing faith in Mac and start moving from Mac to Ubuntu, because Ubuntu and Linux is actually closer to Mac than it is to Windows. So if you leave Mac to go to Linux, you probably won't even notice the difference because a lot of it runs the same. And then the initial backlash, that's one thing. But then comes the bigger problem that I don't think a lot of these big tech CEOs are paying attention to. And it's something that I heard today from Condacular. A lot of people in like these Congress and leaders and all these people, they don't have any idea how technology works. So they won't even know how anything works. And it's not just those people that have no idea how technology works. a large section of our population doesn't have any idea how technology works. And the thing is, a large section of our population is with disposable income has no clue how technology works, which means when all of a sudden you need to ID verify all this stuff, a large section of our population who won't understand how all this stuff works will now not want your technology. And that's going to cause another massive downside to all of big tech. And especially technology like Windows, they're going to cause, and Mac also included in this one, they will cause people not to want their operating system because now it's going to see, oh, well, I don't understand why a computer needs my ID. And I don't understand how to put in an ID in my computer, so I'm just not going to get one of those. Which actually you might think is a good thing, and I think that'll be a good thing. They'll lose a lot of their monopoly. Big tech will take quite another big beating, and it looks like they'll take even more of a hit this year. But also, it will actually start to make more competition for technology, and things will get a little bit more stable. Hopefully, things will be a little bit more stable, and I hope that this never happens, but I still hope things stabilize a little bit more. But then there's also the one other factor that they haven't taken into account is with companies like Windows and Mac decide that they want to do this, and then companies like Linux just say, no, thank you, we're just going to put a notice on it that this distribution is not for distribution in California, basically saying, for instance, Linux just saying, or Mint just coming up and putting it on the website that this is not for distribution in California. That removes their legal obligation because this is not a product that should be sold in California or to be installed in California. You do this at your own risk on the penalty of law for yourself. But this also means that people could just buy computers from outside of California and just install the operating system there and bring it in. And another thing is, companies are already talking about moving from Windows to Linux as their basic installed operating system, which means some manufacturers are actually thinking about, hey, let's stop installing Windows on our computer and making it AI first, and let's just install Linux. It's clean, it's easy, it's free. We don't have to pay Microsoft anything, and we could just do that and not worry about people's complaining about AI. If they want Microsoft later, they can go get it on their own. That'll further push that installation of Linux on the computer first. And you can actually buy computers already that have Linux on them, like Linux Mint. You can buy computers with Linux Mint pre-installed when you get it, and you can buy computers with Zorin, especially because I know these. I've seen the stores; they have links to the stores in them where you can buy laptops and computers already come pre-installed with Zorin, pre-installed with Linux Mint on it. So it's not impossible. It's already happening, and this will just further the adaptation of laptops and hardware actually coming with Linux on it instead of proprietary software like Mac or Windows. But yeah, I see this as just another push for more dystopian control and leading us down a further less rights, more control. You're going to rent everything and own nothing as they already want us to do. But there's still time. There's still time to pull away from all that, put things in your own, do local things as much as you can, and not have to worry about big tech and all the payments for everything, especially now that you can download a lot of open source models right now. Quinn 3.5 has a 0.8 billion model that is literally 1 gigabyte in size. And you can download OpenClaw and link it to your phone so you could have your own AI on your phone. Basically, you leave your computer at home running and you can message the AI on your computer and it will do stuff. It will even go online and find things, which is actually more usable than ChatGPT, Grok, and Gemini all together, because it could go out and do stuff for you and come back and give you the results. You can tell it to go delete your emails and it will go do that on your own and come back and be like, I'm done. It's not perfect, but at least it's actually more usable. And we have seen that it's more usable and doesn't require as much. So yeah, I think if California keeps pushing this, it should be a sign for everybody that actually wants to keep their privacy and wants to be more autonomous and believes in freedom more. They should actually start pulling out of big tech. I've already started pulling out almost everything I have on big tech. Pretty much everything I have on it is going to be pulled out. Yeah, except for like my YouTube channel, because I make videos, and but everything else I'm just pulling out. I'm not going to keep anything stored on Google. All my excess emails are just going to get trashed because I don't need them. My website's not part of big tech. It does not even use AWS because I use a separate hosting company that is not part of AWS. Things like that. It's small things, but it's helpful, and surprisingly enough, it's actually cheaper, because once you start pulling all your stuff out of all these things, you realize you don't need the constant connectivity. You don't need the constant everything. It's easier. You lose less stuff. You waste less, and you're spending less money. But yeah, I don't think this bill that California is passing for ID verification for computers is a good thing. It's a very, very bad dystopian thing. It's going to cause a lot of problems in a lot of different industries, and hopefully it gets shot down and made unconstitutional, especially because it's just an invasion of privacy and an invasion of your freedom of everything, because it's an invasion of freedom of expression, because computers are used as a form of expression. And if that's true, then having us verify our ID just to be able to express ourselves is limiting our freedom of speech and expression. But yeah, I don't like this bill. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm gonna post a lot of my videos coming soon.